To any of my regular viewers, they already know that I'm a gay man, so there's no secret there. Uh, when I was living at home as a teenager in the 70s and dating girls in an effort to find that special girl that might turn me on as much as a cute guy would, I lived a lie. I didn't just pretend to family and friends that I was straight, I was also pretending to myself. I grew up in a homophobic society which had little time for perverts or deviants, as they were known then. I was worried that if I came out I would lose not only my family but also my friends. I had a vision of myself living alone in a dingy flat somewhere with very little joy in my life and certainly no human closeness. Remember, at that time there was no such thing as gay clubs in every town, no internet and no obvious way of meeting like-minded people. My local paper ran an article entitled "The Twilight World of the Homosexual." Alongside the headline was a nighttime photo of two men in long coats and hats under a street lamp as if they were up to no good. In the article, the woman reporter had met some gay people in the back room of a pub and was surprised to find that they weren't that obvious at all. She reported that she'd seen no women's clothes or accessories amongst them, meaning no doubt handbags or purses if you live in the US, and that she'd met dockers, plumbers, carpenters, teachers and even a doctor. Shock horror. But you see what I was up against. On TV, the only gay men were camp comics like Larry Grayson or Mr. Humphries on Are You Being Served? I didn't identify with them at all, so I couldn't understand why I felt the way I did. In the classified section of the same paper there was a weekly two-line ad which read, "Homosexual men and women in Lincolnshire, phone such and such a number or write to CHE PO Box 4. CHE stood for Campaign for Homosexual Equality. Week after week I read that ad, but I never dared do anything about it. I wanted to meet these regular everyday men that the reporter had written about, but still in my head all gay men were over the top effeminate and quite frankly I suppose I was a bit scared of them. When I was 19, and this is how paranoid I was, I daren't use the home phone, so I went down to the local market to use a payphone. I plucked up the courage and I rang the number. The screechiest, lilting voice came on the other end of the line and asked how he could help, darling. I froze, mumbled something or other and then put the phone down. I walked home with tears in my eyes, certain that I was somehow different to everyone else, but knew I could never tell anyone because they just wouldn't understand. So I vowed to myself to keep my true feelings to myself and continue searching for Mrs. Right. I met Roz when she was matron of honour at her brother's wedding and I was best man because he's one of my best mates. During the wedding rehearsals we got to know each other and we laughed a lot. Also 19, she was cute and naive but seemed to like me a lot, so we started dating. She told me early on that she'd only ever have sex with the man that she married, and I suppose I was quite relieved at that news. We did the usual boy-girl stuff and often ended the evening with some heavy petting and lots of kissing. Roz was from a family of 9 kids and she was the youngest, her older sister being 45 at the time. After a few months she started saying how much she wanted to do it. I don't know if Roz had discussed it with her mum, who was probably dying to get the last of her brood married off and breeding, but one night when we went back to Roz's for coffee, her mum suddenly ushered Roz's dad up to bed saying they should give the kids some time on their own. Roz quickly became very amorous and made it clear what was about to happen. Luckily at that age, I could get excited in a stiff breeze, so I didn't need that much encouragement. However, my mind was racing because I knew this meant so much to her. It was, as expected, a shambles. She was nervous and made owie noises, and I could feel myself losing interest, if you know what I mean. We managed it, but it was awkward, sweaty, and I think we were both pleased when it was all over. However, after that, Ros kept stopping at jewellers' shop windows to look at the lovely wedding rings, and started to say how many kids we should have. She didn't want as many as her mum, but she thought 4 or 5 was a good number. We had sex 2 or 3 more times, and it wasn't so bad, but I had to close my eyes and use a lot of imagination. I knew it couldn't continue, so I started calling less, and eventually had to do that awful line, "I think it'd be better if we had some time apart." She broke down in tears. I apologised profusely, telling her it was for the best, and made a beeline for the car. I sped off into the countryside, and my mind was awash with all mixed up emotions. I felt like such a heel. Driving at 90 miles an hour, I had to stop because I couldn't see through the tears. I dated Ross for 9 months, which is an eternity if you're a gay man. But at the same time, we'd had some laughs and enjoyed each other's company. I became depressed and withdrawn for a while after that, and didn't go out that much. Then came Bridget.